Amber, retold by S.E. Schlosser, from spooky Texas. Oh, you hear the stories about how dangerous Ouija boards are, but hey, it's just a game. Mary waited until midnight to begin our little game, and the four of us, Sarah, Jessie, me, and Mary, started by asking all kinds of silly questions. It was a strange-looking board, covered with letters and symbols. There was a plastic pointer that was supposed to move across the board at the behest of the spirits. The instructions called it a planchette. Around 1:30 in the morning, the planchette suddenly froze in Mary's hands. It wouldn't move, no matter how much we pushed and pulled. Mary turned her frightened blue eyes toward me. "I'm not doing it," she said, lifting her hands. I grabbed the planchette myself and tried to push it around, but it was fixed to the board. Suddenly, a kind of electric shock buzzed through my fingers. I gasped and tried to pull my fingers from the planchette, but they were stuck. Mary and Jessie both tried to pull my fingers away. Nothing helped. The other girl stared with wide, round eyes as the planchette came alive under my fingers, which were still fixed to its surface, and began to move. "Help." The word spelled out under my hand. "Help me. Help me." The planchette kept moving back and forth between the H-E-L-P continuously, until Sarah cried out, "Who are you?" "Amber," the board spelled. "My name is Amber. I am 8 years old." "What's wrong?" Mary asked. Her face was so white all the freckles stood out like darkened age spots. "Water. Danger. Help. Scared." The word spelled out as fast as my hand could move. "Call 911, Mary cried suddenly. "Quick! Amber is in danger." By this time Sarah was gasping into the phone. Then she hung up. "They wouldn't listen to me," she told us, almost in tears. At that instant my hand was suddenly free from the planchette. "She's gone," I gasped. "See if you can contact her again," Mary said urgently. "We need to know if she's okay." I picked up the plastic planchette again. "Amber, are you there?" I asked softly, afraid of what might happen. After a long pause, it moved slowly across the board and spelled out the words, "Too late." And after another long pause, "Water, flood, drowned, Mobile, Alabama." The planchette stopped. I knew that Amber was gone. None of us got much sleep that night. In the morning we rushed through breakfast and then looked up the Alabama news on the internet. None of us was surprised to read that there had been flash floods the night before. I read the names of those who had died in the flood. One of the victims was an 8-year-old girl named Amber. The Black Cat's Message, retold by S.E. Schlosser. I came home late one night after work and found my wife, Ethel, puttering about the kitchen with a big yellow cat at her heels. "And who is this?" I asked jovially. "This is our new cat," said Ethel, giving me a hug and a kiss to welcome me home. "She just appeared at the kitchen door and wanted to come in. None of the neighbors know where she came from, so I guess she's ours. It will be nice to have some company around the house." I bent down and scratched the yellow cat under the chin. She purred and stretched. "Well, I think our income can stretch far enough to feed 3, I said. My son had taken over my job at the mercantile, and my wife and I were enjoying a leisurely old age. I like to keep busy, though, and so I spent a few hours every day cutting and hauling wood to be used at the mill. I went out to milk the cow, and when I came back in, Ethel gave the cat some cream in a saucer. We sat on the porch after dinner, and the cat sat with us. "You are a very nice kitty," I said to her. She purred loudly. "Donald," Ethel said. She sounded worried. I turned to look at her. The neighbors acted rather oddly when I told them about the cat. They seemed to think she was a ghost or a witch of some sort transformed into a cat. They told me to get rid of her. "A witch?" I asked and laughed heartily. "Are you a witch, little cat?" The cat yawned and stretched. Reluctantly, Ethel started to laugh with me. It seemed such a ludicrous notion. We sat watching the beautiful sunset, then took ourselves to bed. The cat quickly became an essential part of our household. She would purr us awake each day and wait for cream when I brought in the morning's milking. She followed Ethel around, supervising her work during the day, and sat by the fire at night while we read out loud. The days became shorter as autumn approached. Often I would work until nearly sunset cutting and hauling wood. One night in October, I didn't finish hauling my last load until dusk. As soon as I had piled the last log, I started down the road, hoping to get home before dark, since I had not brought a lantern with me. I rounded a corner and saw a group of black cats standing in the middle of the road. They were nearly invisible in the growing dark. As I drew nearer, I saw that they were carrying a stretcher between them. I stopped and rubbed my eyes. That was impossible, my brain told me. But when I looked again, the stretcher was still there, and there was a little dead cat lying on it. I was astonished. It must be a trick of the light, I thought. Then one of the cats called out, "Sir, please tell Aunt Can that Polly Grundy is dead." My mouth dropped open in shock. I shook my head hard, not believing my ears. How ridiculous, I thought. Cats don't talk. I hurried past the little group, carefully looking the other way. I must be working too hard, I thought. But I couldn't help wondering who Aunt Can might be. And why did the cat want me to tell her Polly Grundy was dead? Was Polly Grundy the cat on the stretcher? Suddenly I was confronted by a small black cat standing directly before me. I stopped and looked down at it. It looked back at me with large green eyes that seemed to glow in the fading light. "I have a message for Aunt Can," the cat said. "Tell her that Polly Grundy is dead." The cat stalked past me and went to join the other cats grouped around the stretcher. I was completely nonplussed. This was getting very spooky. Talking cats and a dead Polly Grundy? And who was Aunt Can? I hurried away as fast as I could walk. Around me, the woods were getting darker and darker. I did not want to stay in that woods with a group of talking cats. Not that I really believed the cats had spoken. It was all a strange waking dream brought on by too much work. Behind me, the cats gave a strange shriek and called out together, "Old man, tell Aunt Can that Polly Grundy is dead." I'd had enough. I sprinted for home as fast as I could go, and didn't stop until I had reached the safety of my porch. I paused to catch my breath. I did not want to explain to Ethel that I was seeing and hearing impossible things. She would douse me with castor oil and call the doctor. When I was sufficiently composed, I went into the house and tried to act normally. I should have known it wouldn't work. Ethel and I had been married for 30 years, and she knew me inside and out. She didn't say anything until after I finished the chores. Then she sat me down in front of the fire and brought me